1,396 days since Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. We still don't have his body. And so, he- the date is July 2020, and the place of death is Fort Bliss. And it took till April 24th, 2024 to give us that notice of death. And we're starting to get the condolence letters in now from the officials. And, it's like, well, let me just say this. As a Christian and a, a Bible studier, okay, when you start really studying the Bible, you'll probably end up doing a study on, I guess a hierarchy. What does God, how does God judge things, right? Because not everything is equal. And, one of the things is what comes first? A wedding procession or a funeral procession? What comes first? What is really important? And we had this discussion in Ireland because, you know, uh, the Irish, they love their funerals. And we would always joke about that. But for God, what comes first? If you're going down a road and they meet at a cross section, what goes first? A wedding procession or a funeral procession? What does God say about that? He says a wedding procession because life comes before death. Life always comes before death. And it's not a disrespect to whoever passed away. That's how he feels about marriage, and it's not, a sex cult. It's not a way to get legality, right? As far as, getting into a country or whatever. It is the building of the future. It's really beautiful when you do a study on it. It's, it's very, very serious business and very beautiful business. And it comes first. It comes first before funeral procession. So I think that's really important. And knowing that, to operate as Team Find Richard Halliday for 4 years, almost 4 years. Absolute hell. I cannot lie to you. It's just been absolute hell going through what we've gone through, and with the threats and with the harassment, the vile and vulgar. I mean, y'all, it was so vile and so vulgar. You knew that it was a cover up. You know what I mean? You just knew it was a cover up, that these were criminals or these were agents, DEA agents, FBI agents, whatever. They were agents, and they were, doing this on purpose to intimidate and to threaten and to harass, so that you would just get so tired and you would just go away and you wouldn't look, right? And, so it was pretty obvious to us that that's what was going on. And to have to go through that, starting with Jay Paulin, he was the first Sergeant Jay Paulin, the first harasser, the first try to manipulate the narrative, even before the media. So, and we were like, I was sick for 3 days. And it wasn't just believing him. We didn't really believe him. It was, what is this mess that First Sergeant Jay Paulin would go onto a social media platform and write what he did. Not to us, you see, not to us, but to a veterans group, to a ongoing senior NCOs, senior, I mean, a social media platform for senior NCOs and senior NCO veterans. What in the world is going on that Richard's first sergeant, being at former or at the time, would write what he did illegally? It was illegal. Okay. It was defamation. It was the most horrible thing. And it was lies. It was trying to create a narrative. And that's what made it sickening. Because absolutely we knew. And that was a confirmation. You know, when you have a crying captain, you know, and then you have something this horrible from a first sergeant. It, you know, it makes you shiver. It's so disgusting because our volunteer sons and daughters have to take orders from such a disgusting individual. I would say almost treasonous. Yeah, you know, you know, and you know, this is putting us at a national security risk right at the get go. Right at the get go, we saw that. We saw that there were security breaches right at the get go, and willing security breaches. Okay, willingly. They were willingly creating danger for our volunteer sons and daughters. And then they were willing to throw our young volunteer soldiers, so to speak, under the bus. You know, they're raped, we're going to smear them. They're murdered, they're dismembered, we're going to smear them. All of this taking the NCO creed and all of that absolutely did not apply. Did not apply here. They did not have our young, you're talking about 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. These are young ages, right? They depend on seasoned leaders to form them, to discipline them, to train them in order to defend our Constitution, to defend the land and the people. And we saw this at the very beginning. And their focus was death. Death and destruction of our young volunteer sons and daughters. That's what we saw. The defense of the security breaches that are causing death and destruction to our volunteers and daughters. And now, all these years, we've been begging for responses, right? For responses to our inquiries, our open records, our inquiries, our pleading, our beggings, right? Our crying, at day in, day out, letters, you know, these live streams, posts, whatever, wherever, reaching out to all kinds of media, everything, doing rallies, whatever, going to J6, right? Going into soup kitchens in Mexico, going to the methadone line there in Juarez, whatever it took. And it was only in death that they respond, because they're all about death. We get this letter from Christine Wormuth today. She didn't get it right. You know, they even can't get their letters right. They can't even get our names right, you know. But yet, in death, they'll respond, because that's what's first for them. Life is not first for them. And that has been very, very clear in this. So, because of that, we have seen the danger to our service members, to our country, to the defense of our Constitution, to El Paso, to Fort Bliss, to Juarez, Mexico, our neighbors, that whole relationship. And we have stuck with it. We've stuck with it, and God has blessed us in this. And we've made great strides, y'all. We have made great strides. Just getting the notice of death, because you have to understand, they never wanted to give that to us. Because there is foul play even behind that. Okay? There's foul play even behind that. But we got it, because even the unjust judge will be forced to rule justly because of you, because you watching, right? And as that, those little victories, we've had so many little victories, and they're just getting bigger and bigger. They're snowballing, right? They're snowballing, and we're getting more and more intelligence. People are coming forward, and that's why today we decided that we were going to put up on our Facebook, and I haven't even gone to Facebook to see if this is working. Thank God it is. Okay. And we decided to put up on our Facebook an open letter to the likes of David Pochet, to the likes of Carlos Mendez, right? To the likes of so many that have been up to no good during these 4 years. And, just to let them know that we know we've been documenting, requesting all these open records. Did some of them not come through? Correct. They don't want to give us all the open records. Are we still asking for more open records? Absolutely, we are. We're not finished yet. We have so many open records, but we have gotten enough. We've gotten enough to help us understand, to piece together the pieces and all of this, so that all of the convoluted mess for so long has started now to make sense. It's starting to form the picture. And, this snowball has produced lately some very good intelligence. We are from that area. Our family has a history from that El Paso area, that Fort Bliss area, the Biggs airfield area, right? This is our history. My sister-in-law's brother-in-law, they were born at William Beaumont. They were born at William Beaumont, right? My husband wasn't, um, but his three siblings were. And, I was born at White Sands. I went to school in El Paso. We have a really close connection um, with that area. We understand the workings of that area better than a lot of people, right? Better than a lot of people. And so we're very grateful for that because it allowed us to have access to information coming out of that area, to have contacts, connections, and we're very grateful for that. We protected those, and my dad was there um, meeting when we were doing other things. My dad was meeting with some of our connections there. And so, we have this information. And one of the things that came out today, the last, days, is Enrique um, Moreno. Enrique Moreno, the attorney Enrique Moreno. And people in El Paso know Enrique Moreno. Um, he absolutely had a connection with that city. He absolutely had a connection with El Paso Community Foundation and with El Paso Matters. And, El Paso Community Foundation, which is West Star Bank, is very important for that area. And when you have this close relationship with something that powerful, you're talking about billions of dollars, right? Billions of dollars in grants and funding and all of this. So, um, to have a connection with that, because Enrique Moreno, even though he's this very, very well liked, you can tell he's well liked. The county courthouse, I think, is going to be named after him. They had a memorial because he passed away in October of 2019, and I think I said 2 weeks after the Walmart, but I meant 2 months. Okay. So 2 months after Walmart, a little more than 2 months after Walmart, he passed away. But he was super well liked, and this all means something for Richard's case. And I'm going to put all those pieces together because it's very, very important for everyone to understand that even though there's many facets of this case and it can seem convoluted, it's not. They all fit together. And El Paso Community Foundation is a big chunk of that because they are the financing entity. They are the controlling entity of El Paso Matters and Bob Moore, which is a conflict of interest. I believe it's a conflict of interest to have a charitable foundation have controlling entity of El Paso Matters that is, supposed to be tax-free, supposed to be neutral, 501c3. We have put in many, many complaints, supplemental complaints, because there's so many complaints, supplemental complaints to the IRS about their attack dog political attacks, obstruction of justice attacks, that clearly they have been engaged in. The open records, when we've got the open records, because we have enough. That's what I said. We don't have all of them, but we have enough to show that Bob Moore is up to no good and absolutely violating his 501c3. But the controlling entity for that is El Paso Matters. But Enrique Moreno, the attorney, right, was on the board of directors for El Paso Matters. Okay, that's how connected he was. And, because he's a civil rights attorney, from everything that I've been told, so here he is on El Paso Matters board of directors. And why is that important? Well, because we know that Bob Moore has targeted us. That Bob Moore, who represents El Paso Matters, who represents, you know, in conjunction with UTEP, because his wife, Kathleen Gannon, is UTEP for KTEP, right? Which is Angela Kachurga. And we know they're up to no good, right? Because UTEP is one of our open records that broke the law that we haven't gotten, because I think that that would be so revealing to the public what's going on at UTEP. And now we know that there's a lot of things at UTEP that need to be looked at, right? Because it's all in the news. And I think someone even got fired recently from the space program or whatever. I mean, something, but they're not giving they rather disobey the law and take taxpayers' funding. So you've got to pay us, but we're not going to tell you what you're paying us for. That's how they're operating at UTEP right now. Because those open records are open records because they take public funding, right? And they should tell us what we're funding, right? So that's super important. So Enrique Moreno, being with El Paso Matters, being with Bob Moore, being with then, if you're on the board of directors for El Paso Matters, you're connected to El Paso Community Foundation. They're the controlling entity. All right. So it's no mystery anymore, even though Bob Moore never mentioned that. I don't, wasn't from him we found that. You have to get open records. You have to keep searching, and you have to read. And once you get the open records, then you have to read through it, right? And this is why, on some of these other things that we wanted to do, we're behind, because, there's just so much to read through, so much to comb through, because you can't just read through it. You have to comb through it. You have to connect dots. So, why is Enrique Moreno important? Because Bob Moore targeted us. He targeted us. Okay. And the way he targeted us is to use Leilani Hart, to use, when I say targeting us, I mean targeting Richard's case. So whatever is connected, like a whistleblower, like a judicial officer, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia targeted a whistleblower in our son's case. Not just any whistleblower, okay? A judicial whistleblower, meaning, he absolutely knew the system in order to make a criminal complaint stick, to turn in the whistleblowing complaint to multiple agencies to cover the bases, right? Because if anyone knows that there is security breaches and there is a weaponization of our judicial system and abuse of powers, he knows. He's a judge, right? So he would know. And so he, covered his bases. This is very important because as a whistleblower, we're a whistleblower, okay? We've been whistleblowing. We've been submitting complaints, whistleblowing. We're official whistleblowers. All right? Rob and I and other Team Find Richard Halliday members. And so, but we don't know the system. Well, we didn't at the beginning enough. It's kind of like that whole Nadal Baim thing, right? You don't know that, Jesus Eddie Nieto, the supervisory director of the FBI, is going to be a dirty guy, right? You don't know that. You don't know that Marlon Soto, the CID, is going to be dirty. And that, this is before we knew that Tavita Nusa was a prime suspect. CID agent Tavita Nusa was a prime suspect in our son's case. This is before that. So we're turning in the CCTV footage that we got, the video of the cashier, right? We're turning in the information of who we think this person is. We're turning it into the general, but it's pretty local, right? But when our whistleblower turned in his whistleblower complaint, he turned it into Ray, FBI Director Ray. He turned it into Merrick Garland, the Department of Justice Merrick Garland, and on and on. He covered his bases, and he did multiple agencies. And so that's the difference there. And Bob Moore used Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who had as her attorney Enrique Moreno. Enrique Moreno. And yeah, this is the El Paso Community Foundation, the El Paso Matters Connection with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. And of course, the connection with Leilani Hart. And Leilani Hart absolutely is connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and her family. And Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia is not an American citizen, even though she's connected with 3905 Bliss Avenue. And does that bother me? No. You know, my mother, when she came to this country, she was an American citizen. She came to New Mexico legally, to New Mexico, not as an American citizen. And she had to learn all of the books that she was ironing. She ironed uniforms and watched Guiding Light and General Hospital, and all of that was very popular back then. And that's how she learned English, you know. And so I'm from an immigrant family. I absolutely understand. Rosa Maria is from Juarez, but she had a big connection to El Paso and Fort Bliss because in like the 1980s, I believe it was maybe 1970s, but I know late 1970s, El Paso Community Foundation was founded, so their website says in 1977. Okay, that's just about the same time that Alexander Gerhard Hoffman came to the United States and went over to Juarez, met Rosa Maria. They were married, but she had a daughter. They had 2 sons together. And then in 2001, this is, what the records are showing, they were divorced. Okay, they were divorced. So, why is this important? Because she targeted our son's case. And we're like, why is she targeting our son's case? Remember, we have been working with the Department of State, even though the general counsel up and left, didn't give us any warning, right? Up and left. Bye-bye. Like so many just are up and leaving. I think it's accountability. I think we're getting accountability inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is hard. I think we're getting accountability as we go, but it's kind of like not admitted accountability, not proper accountability, just a lot of people, having to retire, get up, move, get separated from the military, whatever. But, the general counsel just got up and left. And we've been working with them because our missing persons notice at the AG's office there in Juarez, Mexico, the state of Chihuahua, was tampered with. Terribly tampered with. Right? Terribly tampered with. Terrible. We have questions. Okay, so who's over there in Juarez? Who would want to tamper with our sons? Who has this connection? you know. So this whole investigation is uh I can't say too much, y'all, because you got to read between the lines. But anyway, who came after us less than 2 days after we got there? I mean, it just, just a day, really, a day and some, was Danae Katzen. Who is Danae Katzen? Um, who is she connected to? Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. Who is she connected to? Leilani Hart. Okay. And, and it goes on and on. They all are connected. They're connected through this 3905 Bliss Avenue, 3705 Bliss Avenue, and with even with even the medical examiner. Okay, even with Felix Valenzuela. Felix Valenzuela, the attorney for Patrick Crucius in the Walmart mass shooting case. Right? So once you understand how they're all connected, and here they have this common denominator. They are targeting our son's case. Right? They're targeting our son's case. They're targeting a whistleblower in our son's case severely, continuously. You don't want someone that understands the system to make a whistleblower complaint. That's not too good for your health if you're in a criminal network, right, in El Paso, weaponizing the government, weaponizing, I should say abusing the power of your position. So what is Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia's position, right? What was Alexander Gerhardt Hoffman's position? And I left this out for new people, but he was killed on August 3rd, 2019 in the Walmart mass shooting. Okay. He was right at the front entrance. And it was a brutal killing. And Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia wanted to cash in. And she did. And Enrique Moreno, I don't know if he went along with it because, 2 months later, she was right on it. You can't just easily get a lawyer. I don't know, unless when you're in that kind of situation. But she did, and she got a lawyer from El Paso Matters. That's what she did. And from our intelligence there, she fired him. So this was, there was some contention there, right? And she is applying for monies for Walmart victimhood. She's claiming Walmart victimhood when how can Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia be a victim of Walmart when she was not there? And yes, her ex-husband was shot there, right? But they had been divorced since 2001. So she can't claim, unless, whatever, she might claim something else. And that was the whole part of the problem, is the investigation into how El Paso Matters was giving monies, the funds that were meant for Walmart mass shooting victims, their families, how they were distributing them. And there were allegations of fraud. Now, why is this person that has allegations of fraud with El Paso Community Foundation, using El Paso Matters, you see the connection there, to target a whistleblower in Richard's case, and then target Richard's case. Why is that going on? So those were, just puzzles for us. What did Richard have to do with her? Right? And, it's all come out that Richard, absolutely, his whistleblowing came before the Walmart mass shooting. It makes sense now that there were audits, that we were told that there were audits by Brigadier General Stewart, by Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, by CID Marlon Soto, right? By soldiers. There were IG all over the barracks because of Halliday, you see. And, do we know? Of course, we have enough. We don't have everything, but we have enough. And from what we're reading and from what I'm being told by my husband and all this research going on, is you just have to have enough for beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. And so, we don't have, I always feel like I have to prove it 100%, right? But you don't. You just have to have beyond a reasonable doubt. And you just have to keep on mailing in all of documenting the crime. And you know why? Because we did not have a DA to do it. You see, the district attorney, the 34th Judicial District Attorney, is supposed to identify the crime. Along with the CID, like Veltri, Veltri was supposed to identify the crime, document the crime, and prosecute the crime. Just like Marlon Soto was supposed to do that. Just like Tavita Nusa was supposed to do that. Just like FBI Jesus Eddie Nieto was supposed to do that, right? And of course, the DA is supposed to do that. And we have all these checks and balances because we have our most valuable assets. We have our land and our people and our military volunteers. We have a volunteer military, and there is an obligation to care for them. And because there was a problem, of course, COVID came in. Oh my gosh, I hate the COVID mandate. I can't even tell you how much I hate it. There was such a diversion of justice and such a perversion of justice, and everything was just ripe for crime because criminals were not being identified. Crime was not being documented. Cases have been stalled. Everywhere you go, they were being stalled. You see, we have the Walmart mass shooting case. The Walmart mass shooting case that took so many lives, injured so many, hurt so many people's well-being, their whole mental well-being. Can you imagine? And that has not had one scheduling event. Not one. Not one. Because they don't want everyone to see what really happened. They're hiding things from us. And they don't want these capital murder cases to go into court and have a trial. They want a plea deal, plea deal, plea deal, because with the plea deal, the public doesn't get a chance to see what the case is all about. They don't get to see what they're spending their money on. And millions of dollars have been allocated to the Walmart mass shooting. I mean, millions upon millions. And on our son's case, millions upon millions. And Amy Snoddy in Austin, we've asked for open records on, tell us how much this has cost us here in Texas. I mean, I'm not in Texas. I'm in South Carolina, but I was in Texas. I grew up in Texas. I pay taxes in Texas. I did pay taxes in Texas. I was a teacher in Texas, in the Killeen area. And I have family in Texas. And Hannah was born in Texas, our eldest daughter. So, this is absolutely important for everyone in Texas to know the millions of dollars being spent to stall, obstruct justice in the Walmart case and in Richard Halliday's case. And so, when you put this all together, you know that something really stinks. It really stinks. And it has to do with El Paso Community Foundation, with El Paso Matters, with Bob Moore. And don't forget, our open records show that Bob Moore colluded with Justin Underwood, who also is an attorney for Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. I guess when she fired Moreno, and Moreno, I'm thinking if she fired Moreno, Moreno's a pretty good guy. I think he didn't, because she's up to no good. And so I think that her firing him is kind of like a badge of honor, right? A badge of honor for his character, right? And maybe he's not perfect, but I think that says something really good about Moreno, and that's what we need to do, because he's not here. He's, resting in peace. Please, God, let him be resting in peace, right? But she hired Justin Underwood, and Justin Underwood's up to no good, because we have open records. Our open records don't say that Moreno is up to no good with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia or with Bob Moore. But Bob Moore with Bill Hicks and Justin Underwood are up to no good, colluding against Yvonne Rosales, which is, Yvonne, if you're listening, you need to go and assert your rights and find out if you are the true district attorney right now, because from what we have been discovering, because we're part of the SB4 case now, right? Because Bill Hicks messed up his whole oath of office, this was just a God thing, okay? And we really believe that Yvonne Rosales, and if you're listening, I hope you are, you need to go and assert your rights. We need, El Paso needs, and we need, because of Richard being in that jurisdiction, paying taxes in that jurisdiction when he was there, when he was alive. We need an El Paso district attorney for the 34th. I've written it so many times that I know it by heart now. The 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. We need a legitimate one because Bill Hicks isn't. He's a usurper. He's a trespasser. He is holding on. And, his lawyer is up to no good because they're doing it together, perpetrating this fraud onto the people of El Paso, onto the courts, onto the federal courts. I mean, this is big. They're going to lose. I think they're going to lose their law license. And this is all under investigation right now, y'all. And I don't know how long it can last. And that's why I'm reaching out. I want to reach out to Yvonne Rosales. Come, make this go a little quicker here. The snowball is getting bigger and bigger. And the time is very good because you see what's going on in New York, right? You got this weaponization up there of the criminal justice system. And then you see what's happening in Georgia with the criminal justice with Fani Willis, right? I mean, they're asking for her resignation. At least she knew how to take her oath of office. See, Bill Hicks didn't know how to do that. He got appointed during a recess. He was a recess appointment. And this is my opinion now. I think that Governor Abbott had to do a recess appointment of this no good guy because he's a no good guy. His CV is bad. His CV, the Senate would have to, if it was an in session appointment, the Senate would have to review his credentials. And his credentials, is not good. It's not a good thing. I would not recommend him, right? Judge Torres, I wouldn't recommend him. What's going on there? He had to be a recess appointment. That means he gets quietly put in there. He would have to do his statement of officer. And then he would take his oath of office, and then he would be district attorney, even though he had committed crimes to get there. Absolutely. And we have proof for that, and we've had it in this proof, right? So, but he didn't even do that right because he didn't sign his statement of officer, which is the anti-bribery. Then he tried to, there was an attempt to tamper with it, and then that didn't work out. He couldn't remedy that. He couldn't even do that right because the date then that they tampered was they didn't look at the calendar or something, and that was when the Senate was in session. So now that totally invalidated his appointment. And he essentially rejected the appointment. And in order for him to be DA, he'd have to be reappointed. Then the Senate would have to get his packet, and the Senate would have to review it. And then he would have to be confirmed. Then he would have to do his statement of officer, and then he would have to do his oath of office, and then he would be a legit DA. There's procedures in a law-abiding country. We have procedures. We have checks and balances. It's super important. And we have obligations to our volunteer sons and daughters in the military. And we also have obligations to the people of El Paso to identify crime, document crime, and prosecute crime if we're paying taxes for that. And they are. Loads of them. Loads of taxes. And what do we get? A fraud, a usurper, a trespasser, and someone that has harassed, someone who's made false stories up using Bob Moore in El Paso Matters, using Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, tampering with audio, right? Tampering with audio that was proven. And we know all about that because of what we've been through. What Richard went through with Jesus Melendez, right? Framing, saying, oh yeah, he's really out there. And then all of a sudden he's coming out of the car. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. Okay, sir. You know, and you're like, what? Uh, okay, cops out there. Okay, Anthony Swafford, you have experience. Um, I think you owe us an apology, Anthony Swafford. That's not too bad. Other people owe us so much more, and they need to be held accountable. And the death penalty needs to be on the table because what Dallas Hart did, what Tavita Nusa did, what Leilani Hart did, and who knows the connection. We have some indication of Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and her family, which includes Danae Katzen, which is connected to David Candelara of KTSM, which explains that whole thing. So once you know everything comes together, and you're not as confused, and you're like, aha, okay. So Richard is a whistleblower. He's essentially whistleblowing, exposing a criminal network that is trafficking. And all the people that were harassing, that were targeting our son's case, that were targeting our whistleblower, targeting the paperwork, right? Sanitizing and manipulating and getting rid of the video, the CCTV footage. I mean, Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss, right? Where is the CCTV footage? There's cameras all over the place there, right? So that explains DES Thomas Kane, who is right there with Ann Ogle. We haven't forgotten about Ann Ogle, CYS Ann Ogle, up to no good. And, and her protege, she has a protege too that connects with all the guns. Because there's a gunsmith involved, all this. We haven't released those names yet. But, we're hoping that they come forward. Because this is really coming all together where we understand who's messing with the kids, who's messing with the guns, who's messing with the drugs in this criminal trafficking network that, involves sex cult activities, like vile and vulgar, and a culture of death. A culture of the funeral going first. That's what they want. And you see that with the letters that we are receiving right now. A culture of death. When there is a chance that people could be saved, that we could secure these breaches, that we could get answers, they were nowhere to be seen. And they're not responding even now to life. They only respond to death. They want the funeral to go first. And isn't it like shocking or telling that the common denominator in this family is mortuary affairs, is the funeral industry, purchase funeral homes, because Bill Hicks was representing them up until he had his botched oath of office that is illegitimate. Um, so they were making money off of death. They're making money off of death. And then we have this illegal medical examiner, Mario Raskin Ortiz, making $438,000 a year right now, which is 753% more than the average person there in El Paso, the average wage. And we have him connected to Veronica Escobar, Joanne Bernal. She's out. She's another one that, this bye-bye, they're gone. But not forgotten. But not forgotten. Yeah, it is. I guess it's what you get when you get the culture of funerals, the culture of death, the culture of responding only to death, that those that are committing this criminal network would be connected to death itself. And we're told that this medical examiner that's illegal handled our son's remains, handled the Walmart victims' remains, botching both cases. You see, that's why we need Yvonne Rosales to come back, because she was, when you look at the open records, she was trying to schedule a court date for the Walmart mass shooting. She was being sabotaged. That's very, very clear. It's so clear. She was being sabotaged. And she's duly elected. Now, she's a Democrat. I normally lean way right. I'm way right. Way right. Okay? I don't even think that the Republicans are right enough for me. They're so mushy anyway, right? They're so mushy. Trump is not mushy. We'll see. We'll see. But I think he absolutely has been getting sabotaged, and the whole government has been weaponized against him. So he deserves the benefit of the doubt because of him being the object of retaliation, severe, continuous retaliation, such as what Richard faced, such as what the whistleblower in our son's case has faced. And to some extent, us, the unauthorized search of our house without a warrant, and all the vile, vulgar messages and other things that have happened. But yeah, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And I think, but Rosales is a Democrat, because you really can't run in El Paso unless you're a Democrat. And I have to tell you this. Veronica Escobar, I don't know what she is, but she is not a Democrat. She runs Democrat, right? But she's not, because she doesn't care about women. She doesn't care about Hispanic women. She doesn't care about children. She doesn't care about our military. She doesn't care about the people of El Paso. She does not care about the people of El Paso. I think she's running as maybe like an El Paso Community Foundation party member. I think that's what she's running as. She's a she's a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? And the clothing has a big emblem, or the wolf inside or whatever has a big necklace and, maybe the marking or whatever of El Paso Community Foundation. That's what I'm thinking. because we have been the brunt from her attack also, and her lies, and her manipulation. And Team Farm Richard Halliday also. Terrible. Unjust. Veronica Escobar needs to be unseated. And I think she needs to be arrested, and she needs to lose her law license, because she was the judge that allowed her conflict of interest, Mario Raskin Ortiz, to be appointed illegally as the medical examiner judge, because a medical examiner is a judge. That's why they get paid so much. That's why they can call for an inquiry, an inquest, what do you call it? Anyway, with a jury, issue subpoenas, issue warrants, all this stuff. They're a judge. And because he's illegal, he's botching all the cases. And this is why he botches all the cases. Because we are dependent on him to give us the cause and manner of death. If he is corrupted, if he is, tampering with the cause and manner of death, if he's tampering with timestamps, I mean, Bill Hicks tampers with timestamps. Leilani Hart tampers with files. You got the CID, unauthorized access, tampering with files. You have tampered files at the AG's office there in Juarez, tampering with our file. They don't think twice about it. You have Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia trying to portray herself as something that she's not so that she can get money. And the thing about that, and I know I'm going in circles a little bit, but it all comes together because Yvonne Rosales was investigating El Paso Community Foundation for their weird way of giving up all the donated money that was supposed to go to the Walmart victims, and giving a bunch of it, tens of thousands of dollars of it, to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, whose attorney was Enrique Moreno, the attorney for El Paso Matters, who is essentially ran by it's controlled. It's the control entity. The control entity is El Paso Community Foundation. Do you see the problem there? And she's targeting Richard's case, and she's targeting and manipulating audio. So they don't think twice about manipulating audio and files and this and that. So what's going to keep them from accessing our loved ones when they are deceased, accessing their files, tampering with the cause and manner of death, which then botches every court case that is a capital murder court case, right? It's botched. And this is, please God that Tyler, right? Tyler, whose parents are not, our family is not very happy right now, and who was murdered in 2017, gunpoint. He was in the shower. He was pulled out at gunpoint. He got his throat slit. He got stabbed multiple times. A soldier, Fort Bliss soldier. And what they're doing, plea deals. Do you understand they're allowing one of our young volunteer soldiers on Fort Bliss to be taken out of a shower by gunpoint, his throat slit, multiple stab wounds, and they're doing plea deals? What the hell? What the hell? They love the funeral. They love death. And they are criminals. And Bob Moore is part of it, and Bill Hicks is part of it, and Justin Underwood is part of it, and Rosa Maria Valdez is part of it, and Leilani Hart is part of it, and Veronica Escobar is part of it, and Mario Raskin Ortiz is part of it, and Dallas Hart is part of it, and CID Marlon Soto is part of it, and CID Tavita Nusa is part of it, and FBI Supervisory Director Jesus Eddie Nieto is part of it. Bradford Bugado, the Lieutenant Colonel, is part of it. Nadal Baim is part of it. Danae Katzen is part of it. Belen Roach is part of it. They love death. They love the funeral. They love the mortuary. They love it. And I hate it. I hate it. And praise God, justice hates it too. And justice, it moves slow. What's the saying? I dug it up. Justice turns slow. I'm trying to get it by memory. But when it starts churning, when it starts grinding, it grinds exceedingly fine. And the truth is coming out. I've used this analogy because of living in Ireland and Richard growing up in Ireland. And I cannot tell you the property we bought. It was just very, very mucky. And we made it into like a little heaven there. And we took up a lot of stones. And every time we took up a lot of stones, and these are heavy stones, y'all. These are heavy, the type you build walls with, And every time we thought, oh, we got all the stones, more stones would come up, and more stones would come up, and more stones would come up. And they just kept growing. It's like Ireland grows stones. They just grow stones. And this is the truth comes up. And you can't stop it. Lies cannot be sustained. And that we found out the connection between Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and El Paso Matters, which is El Paso Community Foundation, is Enrique Moreno. We're very grateful for that because it's another puzzle piece. And the more puzzle pieces, the more that you know, the better it is. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I can't see who's really on. I do see Anicia. Thank you so much for your prayers and your love. And we're working very, very hard to stop these security breaches and make our leadership drive them to honor their obligation to care for our service members. Because let me tell you, we don't have time to wait for good leaders, right? I know these really bad ones need to be stripped out of these beautiful uniforms, but we need to make sure that they know that we are watching their every move. It's like, you're in a room with little kids and you're like watching them and they're behaving because you're watching them. Once you let your eyes off of them, they start misbehaving. This is the thing. We need to make sure that our eyes are on these leaders because they're up to no good when you look away. And so this is, we can't afford more Asia Grahams and Enrique Roman Martinez's and Richard Halliday's and Vanessa Guillen's and Austin Hawks and Caleb Smithers and so many others, Lavina Johnson, Elder Fernandez. I just want to name them all. I remember being in El Paso when I was there, and I was doing a live stream. We were supposed to do a rally, and it started snowing. And I said, okay, we'll do a prayer rally online. And I have a bunch of candles, and I'll light a candle for every soldier. And I put out a call, give me some names. I got 50 names. 50, 50, 50. Not 51, not 49, 50. 50 names. And I wasn't prepared, and I lit those candles, and the wax went down on the floor. I had to do some cleaning up. Um, but I let them burn for these lost, fallen soldiers. And it was very emotional because I knew Richard was one too. And so now that we have the notice of death, we have the place of death, Fort Bliss. We have July 2020. And we're asking all of you that are out there, that participated, that know some things, that were in his unit, like him or not like him. We want the truth, and fill in the dots because we're very close. Keep your eyes on El Paso. Keep your eyes on Fort Bliss. When you have a usurper DA, things are going to get shaken up. Especially if, this is why, I'm like, Yvonne, assert yourself. Come back. You're strong. The time is right. The time is right. I think the people of El Paso are so sick and tired, and see Bill Hicks for what he is now, and see Bob Moore and El Paso Matters for what they are now, and see Angela Kachurga. I hope you see Angela Kachurga for what she is. She's really no good, y'all. She's worse than no good. Okay, I'm going to tell you that. She has some weird mission in life. Her agenda is weird. Her, when you try to follow the names and all that, it's weird. Something's not right there. It's kind of like Ernest Christopher Grant. It's kind of like Donna Sifford. It's kind of like, yeah. And don't forget, El Paso has EPIC, El Paso Intelligence Community, right? I didn't know that, just because of trying to research everyone that we have to write. We know about it. Yeah, something's weird. And yeah, I think we are really not being told the truth about so many things. And so we're really calling for those that know things to make the right decision. The time is right, and the time is very short. It's almost up. Not quite, but almost. It's almost too late. So that's why we did that. Okay, I think I have everything. Oh, the pink house. I did write a little note. Fit Fam, the pink house. There's so much to talk about. So this all connects with Fit Fam. Okay, the Fit Fam thing is not gone. You've got two brothers that are in the military behind Fit Fam, and we have another Chris. We have another Chris, and one other thing I wanted to tell about Fit Fam is, when I traced, Team Farm Richard Halliday, traced the vile, vulgar burner phone numbers, and one of them led to Canada. Well, this whole thing is connecting the dots with Canada and Fit Fam group, in the Fit Fam group. And, that I didn't expect that. But see, all of it's coming together. It's all going to make sense. It's like, how in the world was a phone that was saying vulgar and vile things to us? How in the world could that be traced to Canada? Right? And now what pops up? This Canada connection through this fit fam. So that's important. Okay, so the other thing is this, the pink house. I wanted to not have more breaking news, and we always have this breaking news, so I could talk about the pink house more, because here we are in Greenville, South Carolina, and we have this pink house. Why do we have this pink house? Right? This pink property with the pink police car in front of it. The trap house. I had to look up trap house because I didn't know what the trap house was. But a trap house is like a house with druggies, right? Um, I think so, yeah. And so it's like, what's going on with this pink house? And you're gonna have to just give me my little bit of joy with this, because it exposes William Timmons, our representative, who is like, I think a Siamese twin to Veronica Escobar, right? Just up to no good, right? Just up to no good. And so he's, messing with another man's wife. He does other things too. He's just up to no good. And anyway, to make a long story short, uh, he puts the husband, because they have a daughter, right? Um, he puts the father husband in jail, right? It's 2021, and he knows that he didn't do anything wrong. He knows this is unjust, but he's sitting in jail, and it's COVID time, and he sits in jail for 4 days before he can get his attorney to get that CCTV footage that, anyway, that exonerates him. So, but it takes time, right? But to get him out of jail, then they wanted to kind of hide the video, I think, or whatever. Same garbage, right? That we're going through. When you read through his story, you're like, oh my gosh, really, really the same thing. Anyway, so the bottom line is he spends 4 days in jail, 9 months wearing a bracelet on his ankle, one of those ankle things, prevented from really seeing his daughter, still having a hard time with that. And he's like, I'm innocent. He doesn't even have a record now because the video did come out and he did get exonerated. And now there is a case, uh, you know, William Timmons is being investigated. And I have to be very careful how I say all this stuff. But he's being investigated because he's up to no good. I can contest to that. Please use me as a witness. William Timmons is up to no good and he should not be a representative in the United States Congress. I will contest to that. It was bad. It was bad. And he still hasn't even sent a condolence yet, which, tells you something. He's lower than even the low. And even Senator Graham has sent a condolence message. Now, how you can get lower than Senator Graham, I don't know how you can do it, but William Timmons manages it. He does it. He gets lower than even Senator Graham. Whatever, okay? Look, Yvonne, if you're out there, El Paso needs you. You need to assert your position. You are a duly elected district attorney. The laws, it seems to us, are in your favor. The mood, the environment right now is in your favor, assert your rights, right? Do not let the likes of Bill Hicks, Justin Underwood, Bob Moore control the narrative, get away with what they did to you. And so this is how Ron Wallace, the father, thought too. And I think Ron Rallis and Yvonne Rosales needs to be, that same spirit needs to be there. But Ron is just amazing because he wants his daughter. You know, I mean, of course, him and his wife are getting a divorce, but he wants his daughter. And so he knew he was on an uneven playing field. He knew that the system, because William Timmons, see, Timmons family is, very established. They're very, very wealthy here, all this stuff. Um, and so, it's an uneven playing field. And of course, he's a lawyer. William Timmons is a lawyer, so he has all this law, his friend was appointing judges. It's an uneven playing field. And the media is then controlled, like El Paso Matters. And here it's no different. Apparently, it's no different. And then the social media, when Rawless was trying to expose what was going on to him, that he was unjustly put in jail, unjustly made to wear an ankle bracelet, unjustly kept from his daughter. His social media was canceled because he even he posted some. You think I've posted things? He's really posted some things. People, we don't. Parents, we don't like to be kept from our children. We don't like that. And so Ron Rawless, his social media was taken down, and he was like, "What do I do? What do I do?" And he goes, "I have a piece of property that I bought. They were going to turn it into something. I can't remember what they were going to turn it into. It was an old church, and they bought it for 400,000, right? 400,000. And he's selling it now for, get this, 2.5 million. 2.5 million, because the whole zoning changed and it made it really valuable. Anyway, God was good to him, because can you imagine having to be put in an ankle bracelet for 9 months and everything? And you're innocent. He was innocent. He was cleared of it all. That's, so what did he do? He decided to paint that house. We do a lot of things for our children, don't we? We climb every mountain or whatever. We'll even paint our property, our prime property, pink. And that's what he did. He painted it pink. And it's right in the middle of Greenville. And so, everyone goes by and goes, "Oh my gosh, what's that about?" And he can say, "It's a protest against William Timmons." oh, oh, that's so sweet to my ears. That is so sweet, because it's very peaceful, right? It's just a pink house. It's not hurting anybody. It's a pink house, right? But it is a protest, a very peaceful protest, bypassing the unlevel playing field and saying that he protests William Timmons. That was really music to my ears. And yeah, and I had to share that. I wanted to share it for a few days because um, it was really a skip in my walk, and that people are that clever. And I'm like, oh man, does anybody have a piece of property that we can paint pink in El Paso? And we can say, this is a protest of El Paso Community Foundation. This is a protest of El Paso Matters. This is a protest of Bob Moore. This is a protest of Bill Hicks. We have a lot to protest. This is a protest of the medical examiner. This is a protest of Veronica Escobar. This is a protest of the FBI supervisory director. This is a protest of Major General Eisenhower that is obstructing justice even to this very minute of our son's case. We would have it all if he wasn't obstructing um, our son's case. Absolutely. So, yeah. So, just give me a call, 941-677-0060, if you have a house that we can, paint pink in protest, right? That would be, I'd pay for the paint, the pink paint. I'd pay for the pink paint. That's a tongue twister. Anyway, okay, y'all, thank you so much. And we are getting closer. And, we can find joy in life knowing the horrible, horrible, horrible thing that happened to Richard. Absolutely very brutal death, because we're all about life and he is living, y'all. He is living. He's in the arms of Jesus. He is right beside God. He's very special to God for him to be used to uncover um, this criminal network, and he stood tall, and I will, just always be grateful. Um, Absolutely. So thank you all. I will be back tomorrow, God willing. And thank you so much. Please share, comment,